Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Motivational Wealth. Today we're going to do a deep dive into something that you might not expect when you think about wealth building.
Hmm.
We're going to look at a motivational speech by the one and only Zig Ziglar.
The sales legend
Yeah.
himself.
The king of personal development.
Right.
But the fascinating thing is that even though his principles aren't specifically about money, his ideas can really give you that extra push you need on your journey to build wealth. It's amazing how these ideas connect.
Yeah, Ziglar just had a way of connecting with people no matter what he talked about. And he starts this speech with an absolutely fantastic story. I want you to imagine this. You're just going about your day and the phone rings. Out of the blue, you're offered an all-expenses-paid trip to Acapulco.
Wow.
And get this, you leave tomorrow.
Oh my God.
So could you rearrange your life to make it happen?
Oh, absolutely. I would be like, where's my passport? Let's go. That B2B calling my name.
Right. But this is where Ziglar makes us really think. He asks, why don't we chase our goals every single day with that same kind of excitement and that same urgency? It's a really good question. He's basically saying that we often treat our goals like they're just simmering on the back burner, like we're not really paying attention to them. But what if we turned up the heat? What if we made those goals as exciting and as immediate as that trip to Acapulco?
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to our financial dreams, right? Like that dream home, early retirement. Suddenly, those goals start to feel a lot closer when you think about them that way.
Absolutely. It's like finding that inner spark, that drive that gets you moving.
Yeah.
And Ziglar, he really gets into why we sometimes have a tough time setting goals in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
He talks about how some folks aren't totally convinced that goals are important, or they just don't know how to begin.
Oh.
And then there's the fear, or maybe they just don't believe in themselves enough.
Right. And what really stood out to me was this statistic he shared from a study done at Yale.
Oh, yeah.
Only 3% of the graduates who had written down their goals actually ended up achieving more than the other 97% who didn't write anything down.
Wow.
Just think about that for a second. Just the simple act of writing down your goals, of making that commitment, can make all the difference.
It's huge. It's like having a map instead of just wandering around hoping you'll find something good.
Yeah.
You wouldn't just wander aimlessly trying to, stumble upon financial success, would you?
No, you wouldn't. Ziglar calls this being a wandering generality instead of meaningful specific. You've got to have a target, a clear picture in your mind of where you want to go. And that's actually where his own story comes in. He used these exact principles to lose weight.
Really?
Yeah.
And I've heard he's very honest about it. Like, he even shared how a picture of himself in jockey shorts was his big motivator.
It's true. He set this goal of losing a tiny amount of weight each day, only 1.9 ounces. And what's amazing is that over time, he actually learned to enjoy the process, So when you think about it, it just shows you that building wealth, just like any goal worth chasing, it takes consistent effort over time. Those small steps, they really do add up to big results in the end.
I love that.
Yeah. And it's not just about what you do, it's also about the environment you create for yourself. Ziglar always said that it's so important to surround yourself with positivity. And I mean that in two ways: the information you take in and the people you hang out with.
Yeah, there's that quote, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. I think that really applies here. If you're always hearing negativity or you're surrounded by people who don't believe in your dreams, it just makes it so much harder to stay on track with your goals, especially financial ones.
Exactly. And he had this really cool way of looking at the whole idea of paying the price for success. You know how people say, oh, you got to pay the price, or we say, you don't pay the price, we enjoy the price.
I love that. Yeah, it's such a different way of thinking about it, Instead of seeing the hard work and sacrifice as like a burden you have to carry, we can choose to see it as a stepping stone to something amazing. It reminds me of that story about Ziglar learning to love running. Like, at first he hated it, but then he actually started to find joy in it.
Totally. It's about finding that joy in the process, in the journey. When you're really passionate about your goals and excited about the possibilities, the hard work just feels different. It becomes more like an adventure. And I think that's a really important perspective to have when it comes to building wealth. When you're genuinely excited about building a better future for yourself financially, the steps you take just feel more meaningful.
That's a good point. And another thing that Ziglar always emphasized was the power of belief. Like, he really believed that believing in yourself, believing in your goals, even believing in your product if you're in sales, was absolutely key to succeeding.
It's all about that inner confidence, knowing you have what it takes to do great things. And to really hit this home, Ziglar tells a story that is just so inspiring and moving. It's the story of David Loftzy.
Oh, I've heard of him. This is an incredible story. David was diagnosed with cerebral palsy, and the doctors told him he would never walk, talk, or even count to 10.
It's hard to even imagine, but his parents, they refused to accept that. They believed in him so much, and they pushed him beyond what anyone thought was possible. They gave him so much support, and the results were unbelievable.
Yeah, he really beat the odds. Not only did he learn to walk, run, and swim, which is incredible on its own, but he also did amazing in school. His story just shows how much potential we all have inside us, how we're capable of so much more than we think.
And what's really interesting is that part of David's story is all about positive input. Like from a young age, he listened to motivational tapes, constantly filling his mind with messages of hope and encouragement and possibility.
That's like he was training his brain for success.
Yeah, and it just goes to show how important it is to be careful about what you let into your mind to create that positive environment where you can grow.
That's so true. And David's story has so many lessons packed into it. It shows the importance of a strong support system, the power of consistent effort, the need to focus on solutions, not problems. But most of all, I think it shows the incredible potential we all have inside of us.
Absolutely. It goes back to that core message from Ziglar that we can achieve incredible things when we set our minds to it. And to tie all of these ideas together, Ziglar uses this final analogy that's so vivid and easy to remember. He talks about the old water pump.
Oh yeah, I love this one. He describes how you have to put in some effort to prime the pump. You have to put something in to get something out. And it's the same with building wealth. It takes work, it takes consistency. But once that water starts flowing, the rewards keep coming.
And he makes a really big point about not giving up too soon. Sometimes that breakthrough moment, that moment of success, it comes just when you're ready to quit.
Right? It's like that moment when the water finally bursts out of the pump. All of that hard work is finally paid off. It's such a perfect metaphor for building wealth, too. There are going to be times when it feels like you're putting in a lot of effort and not getting much back. But if you keep at it, if you keep learning and investing and moving forward, you'll eventually reach that point where things start to click and the rewards start pouring in. It's about trusting the process. And Ziglar actually connects this idea back to belief. He says, your business is never good or bad out there. Your business is good right here between your own two ears. It's like he's saying that our mindset, our beliefs, those are the real drivers behind everything we do and the results we get.
Yeah, that's so powerful. If we really believe in ourselves and our ability to build wealth, we're so much more likely to put in the effort, handle those challenges, and finally reach those goals. It all starts with that shift in how we think.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Ziglar's wisdom, I want to leave you with a little challenge. Think about one specific financial goal that you could apply all this to. What's that one thing you've been wanting to make progress on but haven't quite gotten started with?
Maybe it's finally starting that emergency fund you've been putting off, or maybe it's diving into investing for retirement. Or maybe it's finally taking the leap and starting that side hustle you've been dreaming about. Whatever it is, remember what Ziglar said. Prime the pump, take that first step, and start building momentum today.
Yeah, don't wait. Building wealth, it's a journey. It takes time and effort and dedication. But the rewards, they're definitely worth it. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into motivational wealth. We hope you found it inspiring and that it gave you some new tools to work with. Remember, you have the power to create the financial future you want. Keep learning, keep growing, and keep believing in yourself.
And don't forget to enjoy the ride along the way.